let me say something you probably didn't expect to hear from us. You probably need some term insurance. Yeah, I said it. It wasn't that we changed our philosophy. We still believe in whole life insurance. But the thing is, most people think that the conversation is term versus whole life. But based on your situation, I think you need some term insurance. And and it's not that the conversation is wrong. It's that the real question that you need to be having is, when should you use each and why? Because if you understand that, term insurance becomes one of the smartest tools that you can use.
So let's simplify this, family, okay? Because term insurance was never meant to be permanent. How about that?
That's why it's term.
That's why it's called term insurance. But the problem is people use term insurance to solve it like it's a permanent solution, and it's not. That's where this conversation starts to get a little dicey, because term insurance is only meant to protect you for a specific term, right? That term is going to be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, for example. So all we're saying is during that specific window of time, if something were to happen to me, my family is covered. And here is where people mess up. Like I said before, people treat term insurance like it's a temporary solution, but they think that it's supposed to solve this permanent problem. And that's where I feel like term insurance gets this bad reputation.
So let's be honest as to why term is criticized. One of the reasons why it's criticized is because it expires. If you outlive it, no payout. Another thing is it gets expensive later.
Real expensive.
Renewing term in your 50s and 60s is different than when you originally bought term when you're 30s or 40s. So it's a completely different price. And there's no asset built. There's no cash value and there's no liquidity. So people say, see, term is a waste of time.
It's a waste of money.
Well, again, not exactly. The truth is term wasn't the problem. Your strategy was a problem.
So here's the shift, okay? Term insurance is not a forever solution. It is simply a bridge. It's a bridge, it's a bookmark in time, because here is when you actually are supposed to use term insurance. You're supposed to use term insurance when you're young, right? When you're just building your financial journey, when you also need high insurance coverage for a low cost, maybe you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s trying to figure this out, or if you
just starting your family.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you're building a system, to Darius's point, right? So instead of saying term versus whole, maybe what many of you watching our video should be saying now is that I'll get term insurance as the bridge to help me build my permanent solution in the future.
Now, this is where a lot of people have no idea what's available. And we're talking about convertible term.
How you can use that bad boy.
Yeah, a convertible term policy gives you the option to convert your term policy into a permanent insurance policy like whole life in the future without, listening to this, without any new medical exams, without requalifying based on health. That is huge because the shape that I was in my 20s is different than the shape that I'm in 40. So just a little bit. So you're healthy today, you lock in a term policy. 5-10 years from now, your health changes, your income grows, your priorities evolve, you have a couple of kids, you can convert that term policy into a whole life policy based on your original health rating.
Now let's break this down just a little bit so we all make sure we're talking about the same thing, because I realize some of the terms we're using might be a little confusing.
Yeah,
convertible term, what does that mean?
Yeah, we know it because we're insurance agents.
Yeah, so think of convertible term, I'm gonna say like a 401k, for example, because most people know that you can roll your 401k into like another 401k if you leave your job, right? We're kind of saying that conversation. So if you take a term life insurance policy, and let's say you have $1 million of death benefit, you can take that $1 million of death benefit and move it into a whole life insurance policy, for example, right? What you're moving, because there's no cash value in the term policy, right? You're just moving the death benefit over into a whole life insurance policy. So now it's moving from term to a permanent product. Now, what Darius said, no medical exams. Remember when you got your medical exam for your term insurance when you were in your 30s? Now, 15 years later, you're 45. You don't need to get another medical exam when you're moving the term insurance policy over into a whole life insurance policy. That's the hack. Because like Darius said, who knows what's going to happen to your health between 10, 15, 20 years from now. So at least you are bookmarking one of your most valuable assets, which is your health today, and you're able to move that over into a permanent product in the future.
Right. Now, there's some caveats to it. When you buy your term insurance policy, you should buy it with a insurance company that also has whole life.
Good point.
Because they're only going to convert it if you're within the same company.
Yeah. So, for example, what we find many people unfortunately run into is they have term insurance with a life insurance company that only sells term insurance. So like Darius said, how are you going to upgrade your product if they don't have another product to convert it into? You can't just buy more term. So always get term insurance with a life insurance company that has other products to offer you, term insurance, whole life insurance, for example, so that when it makes sense to convert, you can.
Right.
There are a few, and when I say a few, there are a few companies that will convert your policy into another company. For example, if you're with, and I'm just throwing names out there, do not hold me to this. I'm saying if you have a Gerber policy, right, and you want to work with another life insurance company, that life insurance company B may accept the Gerber policy and roll it over.
Mine didn't.
But there's very few companies out there. I'm saying that because it's worth asking the question.
Yeah, you can always ask the question.
Yeah, don't just throw your term policy to the side and think that you have no options. You may have an option.
Now, speaking of options, here are your options when it comes to converting your convertible term policy into a permanent life insurance product. Is you can convert the entire, let's say it's $1 million, to Carmen's example, you can convert the whole $1 million, or you can just convert $250,000 of it to a permanent solution. You can convert 500,000, you can convert 750,000. It's up to you. You can convert it in pieces. Another thing is the conversion windows. It typically has to be within a set number of years.
Yeah.
So if it's a 15-year term policy, you have to do it before the 15 years is up.
Yes.
Just as an example.
Don't call us on year 17 talking about you trying to convert your 15-year policy. We 2 years late.
Yeah.
In this whole process.
The premiums already went up.
So let's make this real, and I'm going to give you actual numbers. We've talked about this before on many different videos, so I'll put it up on the screen again so that you can determine how much life insurance you actually qualify for, depending on your health, right? So look at your age in the column that you see here, and then I want you to take your age and multiply it by the number in the multiple systems. So say, for example, if you are 47, you will take the multiple of 20 and multiply that by your income. So if you make $100,000 times 20, that means that you should have $2 million of death benefit. This is the equation that we do with all of our clients to make sure that you have enough death benefit. Yes, we'll talk about the cash, but first and foremost, we need to keep the lights on for your family today. So if we look at a whole life insurance policy for $2 million, that might be out of your budget. If it's out of your budget, then we'll look into a term policy for $2 million because it might be more affordable for you. And then we create a plan to start converting that term over in pieces, one big chunk at a time, however it makes sense for your budget, so that we can create a more permanent solution for you. And the whole process is not for you to do nothing, right? Because typically people come to us and they go, oh, if whole life insurance is too expensive for me, then I'm not going to get any coverage. And that just leaves you wide open.
Right. You know what I want to say about that is I think a lot of times people say that, oh, whole life insurance is for rich people, or that strategy that you're talking about is for rich people. I think that's an excuse to make them feel better about agreeing to be in the situation that they're in financially.
Ooh, that's another
because it's a choice. Everything that we do, we have choices that we can make. And a lot of times people, send us messages not because they feel some type of way about it's because they feel some type of way about what we said and how it made them feel about their current situation.
That's another video. So be careful what you say. And so,
well, you say whatever you want, but I'm just.
But you're addressing a much bigger problem, right? Is that first and foremost, if we're complaining about the cost of things, it's maybe that we need to back up and look at the income and what we're doing with the income, because the income at the end of the day is the thing that provides everything.
Right.
So if we can't afford to protect the income, then we need to zero in on the income and figure out what are we doing. And we can't blame anybody else for why you're not able to afford this, that, or anything else, right?
Right,
That's what you're
because
saying.
we're just on here talking about the things that we're doing for ourselves and what we're doing for our family. We have convertible term, we have whole life insurance policies, we have cash value. We are borrowing from our policies to buy investments. We're doing all those things, so we talk about it.
So we want you to do the same, but we want to make sure that you go about it the right way.
Right.
So getting a convertible term policy now might actually be to your best benefit because we're building your financial system along the way. And as your income grows, you convert whatever makes sense for you over time. And now what you've done is you've protected your family immediately, which should be number one. You've locked in your insurability, meaning your health today, not tomorrow, because we don't know what's going to happen there. And then you've created a complete pathway to the journey of permanence. We're not just sitting on term insurance and being passive about it. We're sitting on it with the intention to do something about it in the future.
Right. And at Wealth Nation, we don't think in products. Like, we just sell these term insurance products and we sell these annuities and we sell this and we sell that. We're thinking in phases. Here's the phases. Phase 1 is stability. Phase 2 is protection. And phase 3 is expansion. Term fits in the early protection phase. Whole life supports long-term protection, liquidity, and control. So we don't say don't use term. We say don't stop at term.
See the difference?
There's a little contrast.
Wealth Nation, let's leave you with the thing that most people miss so that you can self-evaluate this process, because term insurance is an amazing tool when you use it with intention, like we explained in this video. Where it gets dicey and a little bit dangerous is when it's used as your entire plan. So if you're sitting here thinking, I have term insurance, I'm good, I got this bad boy for 15 years, you need to ask yourself, what happens when it runs out? Because if your plan expires, it was never a plan. Take him home, Darius.
If you want help getting your next term convertible policy, then click on the link below. We'll be glad to help you.
And remember to own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.